It's as though Mercury and Neptune trade places. You follow what I'm saying? So March 29th, March 30th, we will have Venus and Mercury sitting right here, sitting right here. Here's something interesting that happens, okay? What happened to my values, right? What happened to the money? What happened to the values? It's the week of March 24th, and this is a big week. So let's take a look, see what we can see, and start off with this is an eclipse week. There is a separate video for that. I will touch on it shortly here. We also have Neptune making a move this week. Okay, so let's kind of just get it on the screen. It's a powerful chart in that you see we've got the Merkabah energy strongly showing up here. And when I say Merkabah, it's just that hexagonal energy you see. Some call that the energetic vehicle. And when you see that symbol, you can see mystic rectangles in it. You can see the Solomon star. You can see, and so it's got this hexagonal connection all the way around. And when we think of one of the great angels, Metatron, right? They refer to that as Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube, a hexagonal cube. Things occur whenever you see this hexagonal thing in the chart. It's usually something big, something that we will all hear about, and it's just big astrology. It's big astrology, and this astrology has been, we've been in it for a while. But this week we have Neptune making a move. We even have Venus and Mercury. You see them here on the chart. They're in retrograde. You see that? Yeah, you see Mercury's right there at 4. Numbers are red, so she's retrograding. She's conjunct the sun. So this is how we start today off, Monday, the 24th. The sun and Mercury conjunct. Remember, the sun's an authority figure. Mercury's communications are mind, and they might be a little, wonky the day before and the day after this because Mercury then would be combust. But it's the day of when they're like at this, some point in time, they'll be exact by minute, even, minute and degree. And when that is, you usually have some very clear and lucid information that you either read or you come across through conversation. Remember, siblings, coworkers, and neighbors, but it is social media. And here it's a more powerful Mercury than usual because she's in a retrograde. So what's the whole point of that? Well, we think of Aries energy. And so we think of our freedoms. We think of the body autonomy. We think of my physical body. We think of our mind, especially with Mercury in the mind. And we think of, Aries is very pioneering type of energy. It doesn't want to back down. Remember, it's the soldier, right? Because Mars rules it. So Mars energy is really strong this week. And it's going to be strong. It's going to be strong in lots of ways. Okay, so that's just the first way that Mars energy is strong because the Sun and Mercury are conjunct in Aries. Then we have Venus here. You see Venus right there? Yeah, there's Venus, my money, my values, who I love, what I love, right? My desires. That is Venus energy. It's very creative energy, can be very sensual, but she's fired up when she's in Aries, right? It's about her values and what's important and what she's passionate about, her money, her looks, her values. So you see how it's interesting because Mars rules Aries. And so it's a Venus Mars combo here, right? Yeah. And when Venus, boy, I come up with some interesting, I don't know where they come from, but Venus, not Venus, not penis, but I said meanness. She might be mean, right? You might have a little bit mean Venus at first, right? Obviously, she's retrograding. You see the red. So she's intense. And when Venus is intense, it's like, this is what I want, Venus energy. So we'll just kind of have to be mindful, right? Because the communication style is also still in Aries with the sun. The sun is how you uniquely and creatively stand out. What I do like is the sun can have a little bit of a fun vibration to it. Remember, it's the ruler of Leo energy, childlike communications. Absolutely, because it's connected to the Mercury thing, communicating. So, childlike communications, it's best if it's like, fun that's not poking fun at somebody, but so that we can all have a laugh type of fun. And yeah, the intensification because it's Mars, it's Aries energy, which is usually impatient, which wants to be first, which thinks that everybody else is taking too damn long. So for some folks, they could be, they can, they could just what's the nice way to say this? It could just be very juvenile communication. Do you know what I'm saying? People saying shit where it's just like, get over yourself. It could be kind of like that. Usually when Mercury is retrograding, because it's about the mind, right? Mercury likes choices. It rules Gemini. There's usually options and choices and probably a decision that has to be made. Becomes a thing. It becomes a thing if you have something within the degrees of the retrograde. Mercury goes back all the way into Pisces to about where Saturn is at. Mercury goes back, passes up Neptune, passes up the North Node, and gets close to Saturn. Really interesting because Pisces, Neptune energy can make communications really fuzzy, really confusing. So this Mercury was going back to get information, but what happened when it came across Neptune? Confusion, misinformation, disinformation, or it just completely disappeared possibly, right? It gets a little wonky. Now, if people are traveling during this time, um, eh, honestly, you'd have to look at some other things in your chart. But many times, whenever Mercury gets conjunct Neptune, communications are funky, traveling is funky. It can create clouds. It's water energy. And I don't mean just like in your car. I mean, like, although that is Mercury, but, depending upon other things. If there's air travel involved, sometimes it's delay. Sometimes, yeah, absolutely with retrogrades. Retrogrades represent delay, 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 do over, do over, do over. It's a rerun. You got to redo it, rewrite it. You just got to, yeah, you have to allow more time. Interesting, 9-10 degrees. That's where the eclipse will be in Aries. Yeah. Now, that eclipse doesn't happen until the end of the week. Okay. So that's on the 29th. But it's Aries. So it's ruled by Mars. So what's Mars? My body, my appearance, my identity, my ego, my freedoms, my rights. I'll fight for it. I won't back down. We think of how feisty Aries energy can be, but it can be playful. It can be optimistic. Now, getting back to this Mercury, she goes back to here. She'll pass over Neptune, then the North Node. So it's like the orders, whatever those orders were, they get lost or erased or something changes, right? Because there's confusion and there's supposed to be a change and a decision made about something. But then Mercury touches the North Node And the North Node speaks to, okay, this is the information you need to go forward because it touches on the North Node in Pisces. This is institutional energy. So this can have to do with travel. This can have to do with politicians. And I don't mean politicians traveling, although there can be some of that in there, of course. But I mean, in general, we think of Pisces and we think of Jupiter. So we think of going on vacation, getting on the plane, going to somewhere dreamy and tropical, right? Absolutely. We also think of the water and the open seas, right? We also think of kind of like the war and soldier energy. And I say the war, the fighting that goes on in all parts of the world, but that is backed by governments, okay? Pisces wants peace and unity. And then there's Mercury touching on the North Node, new sets of orders, and then Mercury will go forward. And you don't make any choices or decisions until Mercury hits 9 degrees, until after she clears that 9 degrees mark, which I feel is going to be, I just feel like this is kind of tricky. I could be completely wrong because we go from really just forward moving, fiery, fast, not even thinking Aries, which we want to use our mind, obviously, but Mars tends not to do that. But we're learning to develop our mind, to control the mind even. So we'll see what this looks like on a big scale, but Pisces wants unity and oneness. Pisces wants peace. So does Venus. They both want peace. And so once Venus gets her butt into Pisces, which she will this week, there's kind of a lot going on. It's not just about the eclipse this week. Okay. And there's a change. Anytime a planet changes signs, it really changes the way that planet feels, looks, acts, the way your mind works, what's important to you, who's important to you. Those things shift. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on. One minute I was all fired up about this, and then I kind of gave up on it. Because that's Aries, really fired up about something, but it's not a finisher. It is not a finisher. So just keep that in mind. And don't be pissed at yourself. Just have some patience because once they go into the Pisces, things are going to change. But then they're going to leave Pisces and they're going to go forward again, okay? Something I do want to mention is because we'll have the North Node and Neptune conjunct, I know where we are in the US here. We have like the whole bird flu thing going on. And when Mercury touches Neptune and touches the North Node, there might be some stuff, that's more than usual, like even more. Filming this in mid-January, where they had bird flu. I think they were in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. They were hospitalized. They already had previously had some problems, some heart conditions and stuff, but they ended up dying. So what I will say here, because here again now we've got Mercury, talking with Jupiter and Gemini energy. It's actually a square when Mercury is in Pisces, right? So normally it's not such a big deal in my mind. Like, is that going to get out of control? A lot of people want to know, is it going to get insane? Is it going to get crazy? How is this going to work, right? Well, I think, and I'm praying, that worst of it would have been while Jupiter was retrograding. But see, it's not retrograding anymore, but it is still in Gemini. And Jupiter can kind of take something and really exaggerate it. Not to say that it's not true. I mean, there can be a piece of that in there, of course. But it can go to a little flame to whoosh. It's this big thing because it adds to it. You follow? So at this time, I'm just thinking to be mindful of these things, especially for people, because we also have the bird thing for chickens as well. Lots of chickens being purposely slaughtered. And so that, yeah, winged beings, Mercury and Gemini rule the winged beings, right? Of course, right? But there's also this right here. The nodes sit at 27 for a nice amount of time. Like they linger for months here. Yeah. They sit here for like 2 months, which is a linger, right? Because like it entered in January and here we are March and it's just at 27. Well, there is a trine. It's a trine to Elgo. So with that trine to Elgo, Elgo is usually kind of a malefic energy. It's not real great energy. It's more like, oh shit. Usually something goes haywire. Usually something can go wrong with Elgo energy. So it's in Taurus. So again, banking and values and money. You see, and so I'm looking at that and I'm like, geez, more domestic animals, right? Because that's Virgo energy, the pets. Because Neptune and Pisces is nature. Yeah, I think this is a big part of this, and that node, it goes backwards. So it goes from 27 to 26 to 25. It doesn't go up, right? So you see where I'm going with this. It's going to be the south node conjunct Uranus. So usually something that we hear about in terms of money and values, possibly banking, and probably some fallout, like the domino effect. The Elgo energy, because it's about desires like what I want, damn it. Remember Venus energy, right? When you have the dark Venus energy, it can be very internalized. And when something is very internalized, and not only let me put it like this, it's internalized so deeply, it doesn't let go of it. It doesn't let go of it. It's fixed energy. So when fixed energy can kind of get that, like it feels like it was wronged in some way, because opposite of Taurus, you following me? Opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. So there's a wound there. It can become dangerous. Like I'm reading it from the software, dangerous and difficult. You see? So this is a time when we're really, you know, we're just being more mindfulness. That's kind of, I mean, I don't know what the best word is to say other than that. And to be flexible because we have big things talking and connecting and things making moves, right? Planets, luminaries, changing signs and stuff. So I think it's important just to kind of remember that and to know that really the only thing you and I can control is our thoughts. Everything else is more about, okay, I think I know what my day is going to be about, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be about. There can be lots of changes throughout my day, conversations, phone calls. There can be lots of little surprises that we just didn't plan for. And sometimes, especially with these sorts of energies at play, I think it's probably good to kind of hold that mindset because I think with the Saturn, which is the rules and the structure and the order of the government and systems, and for politicians, um, which could mean jobs, of course, what moving around jobs, a release of work for workers, obviously with the South Node, a lot of things are going to be affected by the loss. So we will just have to kind of play this out and see where this takes us. So that's this week, conjunct Neptune. That was that thing I talked about where it's like, what happened to my values, right? What happened to the money? What happened to the values? And it could be food, it could be anything that you consider a value because it's Venus, but it's Venus in Pisces. Venus in Pisces is the peace, right? It wants to be peaceful. It wants to be sipping on its wine and having some chocolate with that wine and Calgon, take me away. I just want to escape. So it can be a really beautiful time to just do that for yourself. Literally, Venus conjunct Neptune. It's as though Mercury and Neptune trade places. You follow what I'm saying? So March 29th, March 30th. Let's see what I have written down over here. The 30th. Okay, same day that Mercury makes her move. Yeah, same day that Mercury makes her move, so does Neptune. Neptune goes to 0 degrees of Aries on the 30th, and Neptune stays in Aries until October 22nd. So on October 22nd, Neptune is back in Pisces. Okay? You following along here? Now, what does this all mean? For right now, all we're focused on is this week. And Neptune can bring peace. It can also make things confusing. So there can be, it represents water energy. So when we put Neptune into Aries, it can signify, other than peace, we think of movies and fantasy, we think of prayer, we think of spirituality with Neptune energy. So wouldn't that be nice for the 0 degrees, the world axis point? It's like the kickoff point for things, and it's Mars energy with Neptune there. Wouldn't that be nice? Neptune being there, and all of a sudden, there's like, you know what? We can figure this out. These wars are costing too much. Let's just figure a way out of this. That's a possibility. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means it's one of the possibilities, okay? Lots of other things have to be looked at for that. This can also speak to Navy energy. We think of soldiers on water, soldiers in the water, Neptune in Aries. There could be some of that that's happening there. But whatever it is that's happening, it's changing. I think it's not going to be like a permanent thing. It's going to be morphing and changing, because choices and decisions are going to have to be made based on values, because Venus and Mercury are retrograding, and they'll be sitting right here with the North Node at 27 degrees. So while Neptune is in Aries, you see what I'm saying with the water energy? You then have Venus and Mercury together sitting right here. And so, yeah, I think a lot of this has to do, of course, with people who work for the government. This can definitely be part of that too. All right. So this week, this Pisces and Aries energy, this is the big story. It kind of seems a little confusing, and it is, because it's not just a Mercury retrograde, it's a Venus retrograde. So we're waiting for them both to get back to 9-10 degrees. Well, 10 degrees is government. You see that? And corporations. Government and corporations. The structure, the order, the long-term goals, and the finances, and what we're building. So we have to wait. We have to wait. Everything pretty much happens towards the end of the week, even though the beginning of the week, we started off with the Sun conjunct Mercury, right? Yeah, an authority figure. And at the 4 degrees, women, home, feelings, emotions, the public, and housing, right? Yeah. So we'll see what happens, guys. There's just too much funniness, too much wishy-washy changing for me to be like, this, yeah, this is this. So that's a wrap. You got questions, comment below. Remember, I always appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.